Hello, everyone. Welcome to the M19 Scheduling Livestream. Yes, we'll of course give a few moments to let people kind of get in here. I am Nelson Brown, your WPN Community Manager. Most of you probably know me from this very Facebook page. As usual, we're going to be going through everything that's available for scheduling for Core Set 2019. That is the M19 program season here. There are a few changes. We've definitely got some big focuses this time. So while you're doing it, of course, feel free to schedule. You can pull that Wizards Event Reporter right up and do it. No need to wait. Even if you're, say, on the cusp of another level, something like that, we're always going to check that at the end of the window, so it never hurts you to schedule early. All right. And and as usual, we're going to go through each of the programs here. Of course, this is designed as kind of an entire player path through the season with entry spots for new players and ways to keep your players coming back consistently all throughout. And of course, any questions you have, please post them right here in the comments. I've got my buddy Roscoe Wetloffer here. He'll be helping out curate some of those and passing them over to me. And if we miss you in the stream here, I'll be happy to follow up with you via the comments afterwards. Or as many of you know, you can also direct message me. I'll be happy to help that way as well. All right, but we've got a few folks in here, so might as well dive in. So the big emphasis for Core Set 2019, and actually Core Sets moving forward, is player acquisition. We really want the focus to be bringing new players into the game. Core Sets are intended to be a set of cards that are actually going to be kind of evergreen in your store. We want these to be on shelves all year long, so you have an easy set to point to when recommending the game to a new player. So all that said, Core Set is about acquisition. So of course, the emphasis event here is the open house. We're doing lots of cool stuff for open house this time. Definitely one that you want to sign up for. Great way to get those new players in before the season really kicks off with the pre-release. All right. And so that said, and keep in mind, this is the first time we've had a Core Set in a few years here, really, so it's exciting to get back to that kind of paradigm and having those baseline cards available. All right, and so open house, first program of the season, really kicks it off, kind of gets some new players in the store there for you right before you have some of those other exciting programs. And this time around, we are doing a few things a little bit differently. We'll actually have some real exciting stuff to share with you in the coming weeks about the materials that we're sending you for the open house. But notably for right now, big changes, you might have read about this, is we have the Planeswalker decks for M19 will be available at open house. Now, the allocation that you have and the availability of these will be dependent on your region. So most of what I'm talking about here is going to be specific for North America. You can ask your regional retail support representative if you have questions beyond kind of the basics here. So you're going to have access to, for North America, a set of 20 of these Planeswalker decks. You will be going through a distributor for this, which is selected here in the scheduling window. And these are available kind of in a similar fashion to how you use them in pre-release. That is, these are intended to be used for folks that are participating in the open house, ideally new players, right? Now, of course, you're still going to get the normal set of 20 welcome decks. So for folks that just kind of want to try out the game, they can still totally participate and even walk home with some cards. But if someone is ready for a purchase for that next pre-constructed level up, you'll have the Planeswalker decks waiting. A couple notable changes with those as well. So you may have noticed the MSRP has dropped down to $10.99. And going along with that, there's going to be one booster pack in it. And there are 5 different variants, which is a little bit different from the past few sets that we've done. Again, with this being kind of the baseline new player set, we want to make sure that they have a few options. And very cool with that is the welcome decks actually are designed to integrate in with the Planeswalker decks. That is, the red welcome deck works really well with the cards in the red Planeswalker deck. So great upsell, of course, to players there, makes it really easy for them to transition into something with a bit more flexibility and power. All right. Also worth noting, kind of, I suppose, obvious from that statement, but we are getting a refresh on the welcome decks for M19. So first time in, I believe, 4 or 5 sets where we've actually had new versions of those. All right. And hello, folks. Sorry about that. Looks like we might have gotten cut off from that last video. A few technical difficulties there. So yes, hopefully some folks will kind of figure it out and make it into this one as well. But that said, if you're just checking out this video here, we did have a kind of a introduction here, and you can find it on the videos section of the WPN Facebook group. But that said, of course, we're going through our M19 programs for this season. In the scheduling window, please be sure to sign up for these as soon as possible. We've already covered open house for the most part here. Really want to emphasize that program kind of above the others, even for this set specifically. That's where we're putting much of our marketing efforts, and we are focusing the course sets as the new player acquisition product of choice. All right. So open house is a key program for bringing in new players, but really it's only effective. The open house only really works if the players come back. So you always want to make sure you're highlighting the upcoming programs, specifically new player-friendly events like pre-release, Magic League, and Friday Night Magic. All right. And so speaking of which, of course, we've got pre-release scheduling going right now as well. Not too much changing for M19. Definitely a good one to hit. You may have seen Dominaria was actually our biggest pre-release ever across a number of metrics there. So definitely good trends right now for players being interested in that program. A few little details here about pre-release. For the third time, we are going to have the pre-release parties available. You'll notice that's an additional scheduling option in Wizards Event Reporter. These work similarly to how they have for the last couple of sets here. Essentially, this is a casual player list only event that can be used for any extra pre-release packs that you have available. Maybe you've got players that really want to participate in the pre-release, but they're not comfortable with a structured setting. This is a great option for them. It is very important to keep in mind, though, you need to make sure you're scheduled for at least one traditional ranked pre-release to get an allocation at all through your selected distributor. Additionally, pre-release party numbers do not count towards future allocations. So you definitely want to kind of keep that in the equation if you're thinking about setting any aside for something like this. You want these to be secondary to the main ranked event. All right. And so for pre-release, one thing that you really want to focus on is efficiency, specifically things like start times and registrations. Something that I'll often see with stores is just one single listed start time for an event like pre-release. What you really want to do is you want to have a listed registration time, and then some period after that, maybe 30 or 45 minutes, have the actual start time. So players know what to expect when they come in for registration. They don't feel like they got there on time and they're waiting around. And so that you get players there ahead of time enough so you can actually plug them into the system and get them going there. All right. And pre-release, of course, this is our big event. There's no reason not to sign up for this one. With M19 being a new player acquisition set, we know that pre-release is oftentimes people's first entry into organized play. You want to leave a good impression. So make sure you're running things smooth. And if you can, do something to stand out. Oftentimes we'll see stores that will decorate themed based on the set or have other fun things like photo caption contests and things like that. You'll have potlucks, really make it a fun community event. Right. Now you'll have gotten your first allocation email for this, kind of the estimate for the window there. Once the window closes, we will be getting those final allocation numbers out to you. All right, and next event in the season is Draft Weekend. Another one that's really not changing too much here. Essentially, this is the release weekend event. That is the Saturday and Sunday following release. You'll be sent a stack of promo cards to be given to anyone that participates in a draft, ranked or casual, across that weekend. So keep that in mind. If you don't get up to that magic number of 8 for a ranked event, you still can use the promos with a casual event. And this is another one that you definitely want to hit. I mean, especially if you have any limited interest in the area, but really regardless, since implementing this program, we've seen an increase of about 40% additional drafters on that release weekend. And for numbers for core stores, you'll be looking at 24 promos. Advanced and Advanced Plus will be looking at 48. So, this is when players want to draft, so this is a really good one to jump on, and hey, might as well sweeten the deal with some participation promos there. All right. And kicking off that next week is actually a couple programs following Draft Weekend as usual. You've got the Magic League that kicks off, which is our weekly event where you can have players use a limited deck that they get to slowly add boosters to as time goes on. We've actually got a new league poster. Our materials rep Talia was able to make a cool new one there that's been refreshed for Dominaria, so that will still be available for M19 as well. Just kind of a fun way to track league wins and losses. Because keep in mind, when you upload these, you're simply going to be sending us a player list event file. That is, you will not be stringently recording wins and losses in the Wizards event reporter. And we will have the collection boxes back. I've actually heard that that's kind of been a big selling point for a lot of stores for getting into this event here. So those will be returning for M19. All right. And for this program, honestly, with a lot of them that we have, you want to focus on casual play other than really high stakes competitive events. In fact, the promo that comes with this is just for participation. Anyone that participates in 10 league matches is going to qualify to receive one of these promos here. So again, wins and losses don't really matter for this one. Most stores will even run it in a way that, hey, if you lose 3 times in a row, you get a pack, so that it kind of encourages people to keep playing if they feel like maybe their pool's not so good or they're having a tough time there. All right. And of course, on that same week, we'll have Friday Night Magic. Actually, it's going to kick off on the release. And this is worth clarifying. I've actually gotten a lot of questions about this over the last season here due to the way that we changed scheduling for Friday Night Magic. As you know, it used to be month to month. It is now season to season. That is set to set. So the first time that you're going to give the new promos for a set on Friday Night Magic is going to be that Friday of release. And those promos are intended to last you all the way up until the last Friday of that season. That is the last Friday until the next set releases. So it's not based on month. You can actually give whichever of the 3 promos out that you like. And just be sure that you are holding and giving out the correct quantity each week, which is 4 for core, 8 for advanced, and 16 for advanced plus. Don't want to run out early because then you'll have nothing to give them for those last few Fridays there. Right. And we'll have similar promos for M19 as you saw for the Dominaria season here. We don't have them announced yet, but they will be the alternate frame of playable cards from the set. Right. And of course, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump right in. Oh, actually, looks like Eric has one here. Are the Planeswalker decks same for open house as release decks? Yes. So the Planeswalker decks that'll be available for open house are going to be the same as the normal seasonal ones. You're just getting an additional allotment, kind of like you got for the pre-release. Yeah, and actually further on that, you'll also have that additional allotment for pre-release as well. Still works the same way. You don't want to sell them outright till release for both the open house and pre-release Planeswalker deck availability. You'll be able to provide them as event materials for anyone that participates in the event. So typically the way you see that is you'll have the pricing of the deck kind of built into that event entry, and then you can provide it 1 per customer. All right, great question though. And yeah, again, please guys, if you have any more, dive right in. I'll be happy to address them as they come up here. All right, but also kicking off pretty quick after that release. Oh, looks like we got one from Jackie here. Are we going to be able to pre-sell booster boxes with M19 like we could with Dominaria? We actually haven't made a formal announcement on that one just yet. So we are still kind of reviewing all the data and feedback that we've seen from Dominaria, and we'll be coming out with an announcement about that, of course, before the program season begins there. So hold tight on that one. We'll have more information for you shortly. Now, kicking off that week following the first week of League is Standard Showdown. Not too much changing with this one here. In fact, you're still looking at the same scheduling availability, so you'll be able to do any day of the week except for Friday on this. These are ranked standard events, and you'll have those prize booster packs available for folks that place well in this one. Unlike the Friday Night Magic promo, where really you can kind of give them out how you see fit, really whatever behavior you want to encourage, you can give an F&M promo. Standard Showdown, I'd really encourage you to use these for folks that place well. A common way to do it is maybe you have someone that comes every single week, right? And so they're really good. Or maybe you got someone that's going for, I'd say that's a great justification for getting one of these great packs here. All right. And for the, looks like Alex has a question as well here. Will there be new exclusive BioBox promo? Also something we haven't announced just yet. We'll have that information coming shortly. We are still kind of analyzing how everything went for Dominaria, and we'll be getting that out to you guys as soon as we've made a decision on it. All right. And so that's pretty much it for a standard showdown. Do note for this one, it's somewhat of a smaller season. We're looking at 7 standard showdown events for that. Also keep in mind the way that the date selection works on this, or rather the day selection, because the weeks are mapped onto a Sunday through Saturday kind of system there, kind of grid through Wizards Event Reporter. If you schedule for Sunday, you're going to be scheduling for the first available day of the season. If you schedule for Saturday, it will be the last. So that is, there'll be a kind of another week before you have your first one, but you'll have an additional event at the end there for a total of 7 events. All right. And Standard Showdown, the competitive series, kind of leads into our big culmination competitive tournament, which is Store Championship. We're looking at similar parameters for this one. That is, you'll have format flexibility between standard, sealed, or draft. And you're also looking at any day of the week for this one. And this one actually does include Friday. So just like the last couple here, you'll be able to choose which day works best for you and your community. And say you do have some other stores in the area that you're oftentimes kind of competing with time for. This gives you the ability to kind of stagger those a little bit in your community. And hey, keep in mind, if you don't have an open communication channel with your competitor stores in the area, you can use the store locator to see what's been scheduled for future events to at least kind of get an idea of what they're doing there. Right. And one thing to note, if you do schedule your store championship for Friday, keep in mind this is technically a separate event from F&M. So you want to make sure those don't kind of get merged into the same event. They are separate, and promos need to only be used for each one individually there. But materials are the same. So you're going to be looking at 30 participation full art promos. You're going to have some top 8 deck boxes, and of course that highly sought after champion playmat. So definitely sign up for all these guys. The window is closing here pretty quick. And let's see here. Oh, also worth noting, buy a box. As mentioned before, we haven't completely announced if things will be looking similar to Dominaria at this point, but you are automatically signed up for. So no need, if you're not seeing it in Wizards Event Reporter, oh no, what happened? No, you're good to go. We just send those out to stores now. Those are actually kind of cooked into the terms and conditions of the general Wizards Play Network. But yeah, so this is, we're going to have a great event season. I'll let you guys know, I've actually gotten to see the set myself. It's quite good. I'm very excited about it. And it's all about player acquisition. So if there's any time to hit an open house, this is definitely going to be the one. We've got some great materials coming for that. We're going to have video coming out here pretty soon, which will go into those. And it's all about new player acquisition. So get those Planeswalker decks, keep those available. We want this to be the entry point for new players product-wise. And Jen has a question, top 8 boxes with Dominaria art. So actually in this case, just like with the Rivals of Ixalan season, it's going to be looking forward to the next set. So that is the Dominaria Store Championship materials will use art and imagery from M19. And a lot of people have had questions about that, so it is worth diving into a little bit. We know that near the end of the season, folks are already excited about the next sets. We see that pretty consistently. And hey, on the marketing side of things as well, we want to start orienting them towards thinking about it. So even though it is kind of a culmination for the previous set season, we want it to be a celebration of what's coming and making sure folks are getting excited for those new and upcoming. All right. Oh, we got another question from John Paul here. For Standard Showdown, if we don't hit the 8 minimum and we switch it over to Casual Event, can we still give those players Standard Showdown packs? As it stands now, we do ask that you keep those events ranked. That being said, this is actually feedback that I've heard before that it would be helpful to be able to either switch over to a casual event or still in some capacity give out those packs. So I'll be happy to take that to our play programs specialist here because I think that's a reasonable note of feedback. But currently as the rules stand, it needs to reach that magic number of 8. If it doesn't, just like with any of our promos, you can hold on to the extras until the next season, and then you can give them out to drive in-store play. But that's pretty much it for the big bullet points here, guys. Going to be a few more minutes if someone's maybe typing out a big long one for me or something like that, And as a reminder, you can always come to me outside these live streams. These are just really kind of a fun way of engaging you guys and kind of all grouping up here together. But I'm always happy to answer questions via private message in Facebook. Of course, if you need something really fast, you want to call retail support. If you need something done with like an event upload or something like that. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Oh, one thing I may not have mentioned here because we kind of got cut off with the technical difficulties at Open House is the promos for Open House. This was actually something that a lot of stores contacted me about this last season with concerns about how do folks qualify for this. And the answer is we want these to be for participation. So this isn't someone who just shows up to the store and says, hey, I'm here for the promo. Let me get my sweet Llanowar because I think we all know those were pretty awesome for the last one here. Really, we're looking for players that are recruiting new players, hanging out to play in the event, ideally playing with some new players there to kind of give that new player an idea of, oh, hey, this is a cool kind of social event with other players. People come, they make friends here, they hang out. So definitely something that we want to be used as a behavior incentive there. But yeah, you really want to sign up for Open House. We're going to have these great opportunities for you to sell Planeswalker decks early. You're going to get special materials for teaching new players, which I'm very eager to talk about, but we haven't announced them just yet. So really, if this season, if you hit anything, hit that Open House. You've probably seen on the WPN website where we're kind of hammering the message home. You can see we've got a number of articles up right now that talk about how effective Open House was for bringing in new players, as well as some tactics for how best to approach teaching the game to someone. In fact, we will actually have some more material coming out in the coming weeks here with ideas about that. Because it's kind of an art. Teaching a new player Magic, that can completely make or break someone, whether they're going to fall in love with the game and be a decades-long player, or if they're going to really just kind of fall flat and say, yeah, it's not really for me. So we'll have more information coming out with that. But the tools we have for Open House, including those new welcome decks leading into the Planeswalker decks, which are really cool, are going to be a great channel for that. All right. Well, Roscoe, I think we're looking pretty good. No more additional questions. Excellent. But hey, if you got any more for me, hit me up in the private messages or leave a comment here. I will certainly be happy to get to. Yeah, Alex, I think you're going to really like them. I've got to see them, and they're pretty sweet. The materials for new players are awesome. Definitely amped it up from anything I've ever personally seen us do it here. It's going to be a great focus. All right. Yeah, and you can check out the event page on Open House to kind of get some hints at what we're going for towards there. All right. But hey, guys, it's been great. Again, any questions, drop them in the comments, shoot me a private message. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us.